Good morning. My name is Attorney Dawn Blagrove, and I'm here on behalf of Emancipate Votes. And I stand here along with a coalition of community leaders and organizers who are committed to seeing justice, fairness, and safety in the Wake County criminal legal system. We all stand here together to say that we are tired of pretend progressives, especially in our district attorney's office, who are not committed to transformative change, who are not committed to making sure that there's equity and fairness, who is not committed to decarceration, but most importantly, who is not committed to doing the important work, the work that the people elect them to do, which is dismantle systemic and institutional racism that is a cancer within our criminal justice system, particularly here in Wake County. Emancipate Votes believes strongly, that the people of Wake County deserve better than what we have been getting from our district attorney's office. We need a district attorney that is committed to not being a pretend progressive, but who is actually committed to transformative change. And we know that this is possible if there is a will. But what our incumbent has shown us over and over again is that there is no political will under her administration. And as a result, we demand one of two things: either a change in administration or a change in the way she does things within her office.
That's right.
Emancipate Votes is committed to educating the people about this district attorney's race, about the power of the district attorney, and about the real transformative change that is on the cusp of happening. Emancipate Votes is here with a bevy of strong community organizers, strong community organizations that are doing the transformative work that needs to be done to eradicate systemic and institutional racism from our system. But we cannot do that if the most powerful player in the criminal justice system, your elected district attorney, is not willing to embrace transformative change. So we stand here today, and each one of these organizations will speak to you specifically about the people that they represent, about their constituency, and about the urgent need, the urgent, pressing need for transformative change within the Wake County criminal justice system. The next person that you are going to hear talk to you about the importance of voting is Daryl Atkinson, who is the co-director of the Forward Justice Network. Daryl.
My name is Daryl Atkinson. I'm co-director of Forward Justice Action Network. I'm a civil rights attorney. I practice in criminal and in civil law. And anybody who's been in criminal court in Wake County knows that our criminal legal system is rife with racial disparities. African Americans in this county represent about 28% of the population. We 46% of the people who get stopped. Black folks are charged and prosecuted at 3 times the rate of whites for misdemeanor marijuana arrests. That means they're arresting 3 people on Bragg Street and they're arresting 1 person in Cameron Village. That ain't right. Black folks represented 65% of the people who went to prison out of Wake County. Now for years, we've had a DA that'll give lip service to these issues. She'll come to our churches,
Say it.
give a speech, partner on some expungement clinics,
Hello.
wiping records that she shouldn't have been prosecuting in the first place.
Thank you. Pretend.
It's time for a change.
That's right.
We tired of that. We are looking for someone who's not gonna give lip service to addressing racial disparities.
Say it.
We're looking for somebody who's gonna take real action in addressing racial disparities in this county. And the candidates got radically different positions when it comes to this issue. The incumbent, given the opportunity, given the data that black folks are charged and prosecuted at 3 times the weight as whites for misdemeanor marijuana arrests, we asked her, would you dismiss these cases? Would you decline to prosecute? She say no.
That's right.
That's real, that's a chance for her to take real action to reduce these disparities. The challenger now has staked out a position that they're gonna dismiss all of those cases. That's a chance for those young people not to get records in the first place. The incumbent gives lip service to addressing mass incarceration and the racial disparities associated with mass incarceration. Wake County got a per capita incarceration rate higher than most countries.
Say it.
What is she willing to do to address this? Nothing. When we asked her in questionnaires, would she be willing to reduce the number of people sent to prison for active time in Wake County for nonviolent offenses, she said no. Now the challenger has said that he's willing to reduce the number of people sent to prison from Wake County. That's some real change. Now look, those are just a couple of the positions. It's important that people get educated on these issues. The district attorney is one of the most important stakeholders in our criminal legal system. They can either be a change agent for good or a change agent for harm. And we're looking for a change agent for good. And I'm imploring people in this county to get active and come out and vote May 17th.
I'll be here. Again, these are important issues. District Attorney is the most important person in our criminal justice system. Make no mistake, this is not an election that the people can afford to sit out. Next, we're going to hear from Kimberly Davis, community organizer with North Carolina's A. Philip Randolph Educational Fund.
Good morning. I am Kimberly Davis, a community aid organizer with North Carolina A. Philip Randolph Educational Fund. NCAPREF is dedicated and determined to refine the judicial system as it overlooks atrocities towards the socio-economically disenfranchised communities. We are repulsed at the number of men and women of color being targeted, killed, and persecuted, with 70% of whites never coming in contact with law enforcement or experiencing any form of bigotry. They continually enforce laws with a calloused mindset, directly or indirectly impeding financial and social equality, which adds measure to unnecessary brutality, both mentally and physically. North Carolina A. Philip Randolph Educational Fund invariably assists and educate to strengthen voters to renew the justice system, upgrade substandard jails, continually interconnecting with the district attorney's office to abolish profiling during prosecutions and sentencing. Again, I am Kimberly Davis with North Carolina A. Philip Randolph Educational Fund. On behalf of our Executive Director, Mr. Melvin Munford, and fellow NCAPREF organizers, we encourage all to vote in May. Thank you for your time.
So we just heard Kimberly talk to us about the disparities and how we get to those gross disparities in mass incarceration in North Carolina. We get there because we have had a district attorney's office that was blind to the disparate impact and touch that law enforcement inside of Wake County has with Black and brown people. We have had a district attorney's office who is unwilling to acknowledge the over-policing in our community.
That's right.
And we're tired of it.
That's right.
We want to change. And make no mistake, your district attorney is the person that can impact that cultural change.
That's right.
Because when we elect a district attorney who says to law enforcement, I am not going to encourage you to harass Black and brown communities, to treat them like military zones, and the way I disincentivize that is to not prosecute those cases. For years in Wake County, we haven't had a DA that has done that, but we are tired of waiting.
Right.
So we are demanding that whoever takes that office is going to use the power that the people give them to decimate systemic and institutional racism. Next, we're going to hear from Diana Powell, the Executive Director of Justice Serve.
Thank you, Don. District attorneys have significant decision-making power and the decisions that have a big impact on our community. They can decide whether criminal charges are brought to court, which cases are dismissed, diverted from court, and to some extent, the sanctions that people convicted of crimes will face. Yet, the duties, employees, and practices of these offices are often not well known to the community that we all serve and they serve. This is not just about a win.
That's right.
It's about what's right.
That's right.
We the people have the power to say who we the people want to hold this very important office. This power that they have, we the people have the power to put the right person in that seat. It must be without prejudice or malice or without personal interest. Honesty is the key. We the people must exercise our right to vote with power. As Justice Serve Executive Director, we are committed to educating our community on this position that has so much power over our people. Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
All right, y'all, we tired. We are tired of pretend progressives. We are no longer being fooled by smoke and mirrors.
That's right.
We are no longer allowing folks to come to our churches, do expungement clinics, and then tout themselves as progressives. We are not. We demand more. We demand transformative change. Now is the time in America for this transformative change to happen. And anyone who is not willing to use the power of the district attorney's office to create the transformative change that is happening all over the country is a person that is not deserving of the power of your vote.
Go.
Next, we're going to hear from Christy Puckett-Williams, the Deputy Director of Engagement and Mobilization with the ACLU of North Carolina.
All right, Christy.
Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Christy Puckett-Williams. Williams, and I am the Deputy Director for Engagement and Mobilization with the ACLU of North Carolina. We are a nonpartisan organization that does not endorse or oppose candidates. As the speakers before me have noted, the District Attorney wields the most power in the criminal legal system. Their decisions to prosecute rather than seek justice is a pattern and practice that has an impact on both individuals and our community as a whole. We are less safe when we criminalize poverty, addiction, and victimhood. All things I know too well, having had those things be the reason I stand before you today as a person living with and working through the lifetime consequences of being convicted for those things. We know that locking up our community members, especially children, as a way to get to safety has yet to occur, despite this country locking up more people than any other country in the world.
Tell it.
We are no longer accepting stale talking points and violent inaction presented as justice. We are demanding justice that is smart,
Yes.
thoughtful, considerate, and full of grace. Justice that creates unity, not division. Justice that personify deep love, not deep violence. Justice that covers all, not just some. We want more than empty promises on the campaign trail. We want transparency and accountability, the same thing we demand of defendants in the courtroom. Cast an informed vote. Thank you.
Christy Puckett Williams, who is a person that every single day puts her body, her emotions, and her life on the line to fight for what is fair and what is right and what is just. Not just because she is a person who survived the system, but because she wants to make sure that so many other people never have to call themselves survivors. We need a district attorney who understands that incarceration is not the hammer that fixes every nail you see.
Say that.
We need a district attorney who understands the real life impact that being justice involved has on Black and brown communities. We need for a district attorney to look at Black and brown people and see human beings who are worthy of an opportunity to live the American dream. Because we are all worthy.
Yes.
But the district attorney, that person that we get to elect, who we give power to, can decide with one question and no, with one pen and no discussion, no deliberation, no one to check that power, who goes into the criminal justice system and who does not. So it is no more important election on the ballot than your district attorney. Next, we're going to hear from Marcus Bass, the Executive Director, and Lamar Bryan, both with Advance Carolina.
Before we have Lamar's remarks, and we're fortunate to have a team of people committed across the state and this coalition, but more importantly in Advance Carolina, having someone dedicated to seeking justice on this ballot. Somebody say justice election.
Justice election.
Justice is on the ballot across the state of North Carolina. And what you have heard today from this group of amazing organizations that have been committed 365 days a year, not just in front of the courthouse, but have been marching over the past decade, have been touring in carceral states across this counties across North Carolina, talking to individuals that have been impacted. There is a trifecta of injustice that we have seen, and we have an opportunity this election cycle and this primary to make a difference. There are three key roles of justice on the ballot that we want to make sure you hear. You've heard directly the impact of district attorneys across Wake County and across North Carolina, and the fact that injustice being served in that role is a misjustice to residents across North Carolina. There's also a second piece, district court judge. Our district court judges are just as important as the prosecutorial arm in Wake County, and we have to make sure there's a balance of power in not just DA, but in district court judge, and especially in the role of sheriff. This trifecta can wreak havoc on residents across the state. This trifecta of injustice, when in imbalance, can cause immeasurable harm in communities across Wake County. And we're committed not just to focus on district attorney, not just to focus on sheriff, not just to focus on district court judge, but in this moment when so many folks are worried about who's running for Senate, who's running for Congress, these down ballot races are the epitome of power and community, and residents across North Carolina, especially in Wake County, are able to determine by 5 votes or less per precinct who is in these positions of power. So as we prepare to go to the ballot box this week marks the start of early voting across North Carolina. We want to make sure residents hear loud and clear, you have an opportunity to set the record straight and bring justice back to residents in Wake County in the position of district attorney, in the position of district court judge, and in the position of sheriff. And to talk about what that work looks like, I'm proud to present to you now Lamar Bryan, Triangle Coordinator for Advance North Carolina.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Lamar Bryan, the Triangle Regional Coordinator for Advance Carolina. Advance North Carolina is a statewide Black-led 501c4 organization committed to improving the quality of life for all residents in our state through the political process. We work to hold power accountable and bring political power to the communities that have historically been left out and left behind in our democracy. And I'm going to say that again. We work to hold power accountable and bring political power to the communities that have historically been left out and left behind in our democracy. The Triangle region of our state is a major intersection for justice in North Carolina. Raleigh and Durham are the home to many civil rights and social justice movements throughout history, and this community has played a pivotal role in ensuring that the scales of justice are fair. The sheriff is the oldest elected position in the country, and along with the roles of district attorney and district court judge, the trifecta of law is balanced by the people's ability to select these specific offices every 4 years. In 2018, Advance North Carolina joined half a dozen organizations across our state to identify bad acting sheriffs and work to ensure a new era of civil service. In that position, ushered in 11 sheriffs. This year, we are doubling down on our sheriff accountability and also placing an equal priority on the roles of DA and judges. The enormous power these offices wield on communities have kept these positions sacred and in some cases devoid of diverse individuals, creating major blind spots in how justice is served for millions of residents of North Carolina. So today, we join leading advocates and organizations to bring attention to the midterm primary races that will determine the state of justice in Wake County. Regardless if you are an incumbent or challenger, we are taking great steps in ensuring voters understand the importance of the roles you hold, the decisions you make, and working to ensure all candidates are seriously speaking to voters about what difference they will make in the long history of injustice and unequal treatment. From trying cases of police misconduct to harsher penalties for communities of color. We are seeking real solutions, and I'll say that again. We are seeking real solutions and not talking points as voters make these important decisions in this 2022 primary. Thank you.
All right.
So as we close out, here's the brass tacks, folks. We need a district attorney that will hold accountable law enforcement officers who are unlawful. We need a district attorney who is committed to the community and not just filling up jails and prisons. We need a district attorney willing to create real bail reform that will keep poor people out of cages simply because they cannot afford to buy their freedom. We need a district attorney who will not prosecute low-level weed and marijuana charges. We need a DA that will not seek the death penalty in North Carolina. We need a DA that is committed to restorative change and using trauma-informed practices to keep people out of the criminal justice system instead of throwing more people in.
Say that, Don.
And lastly, we need a DA who is committed to making sure that children are not sent to prison for the rest of their lives. Each of those things we have gotten over and over historically from the Wake County District Attorney's Office. What we are telling you is that if you want to change your criminal justice system, there is no more important election than this Wake County District Attorney election. We are telling you, you have a choice. You have a choice. The power of who holds that office is yours. So you decide, do you want someone who thinks that every child, every black child, caught with a little bit of weed should end up with the albatross of a criminal record around their neck? Do you want a district attorney who thinks it's okay to send your children to prison for the rest of their lives?
No.
Do you want a district attorney who thinks it is okay for you to sit in jail simply because you can't afford to buy your freedom?
No.
If you don't want that, now is the time. Now is the time for change. No matter who wins this election, now is the time for you, the people, to use your power to demand transformative change in your district attorney's office. Because make no mistake, that power that is wielded by the district attorney does not belong to the district attorney. It belongs to you. And if they are using their power to disenfranchise you, to decimate your communities, to over-police our children, and to make sure that the American dream is out of reach for black and brown people in Wake County, then they aren't using your power the way you need them to use it.
That's it.
Thank you for coming. And all of the organizations that have spoken here today will be available for individual questions and interviews immediately after the end of this press conference. Thank you for your time.
Way to go, John.
That was really awesome. Yes.